Welcome to X1T Gaming, and together we're going to revolutionize the gaming industry. So, right now we're going to be doing lesson 1.3 on our high speed chase. We should be doing some more code today. But yeah, thanks for following along. Thanks for watching. Thanks for believing in me, believing in the movement. Because it's not just me, it's going to be a whole bunch of other people who are joining along, and we're just going to revolutionize this gaming industry, make it into one that was kind of like in the past. I don't know. I'm in my 30s, and I remember like growing up, games where people enjoyed making the games, and they tried to revolutionize every step of the way as they're going, and you could see these process, and they're just going and going and trying to get better and better and better and better. And it was super exciting, and people were just playing the best games because they were good, and that the developers just cared. And then once, I don't know, our generation, the gaming generation, the people who I transitioned where gaming wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to be a gamer. It was kind of like an underground society, and now it's transitioned to be something that is cool. Oh man, I'm even outdating myself with my talk. But anyways, it was something that was not popularized when I was growing up. It's an underground society. You were pretty much like a loser if you were a gamer. And then I saw the transition of it becoming a popular asset where it would become something that most people do. And once that transition took place, now the companies were just like, we don't care about the games anymore. We just want to make money. And I don't want to do that. I don't want it just to be a money grab. I want to actually go back to the time where we had quality games, where we had people who actually cared about making games, where we had people who were trying to push the limits and create new stuff. I still believe that all the types of games that we have out there are not all that is there. I believe that there's somebody somewhere that has an idea, whether it's going to become to them right now or later, or that they already have it, or that will come to them, especially when they start coding, that there will be kind of like a new style of gameplay, something new. I don't know what that is. And that's what this whole journey is about, is to try to find those new style gameplays, to push the limit of gaming, to find, I don't know, the goodness out of it and enjoy the process as we go along. So it just frustrates me a little bit that now nobody's pushing those things. And so here I am learning how to code so that I could create games, start this gaming industry, this gaming community, this gaming company, and actually produce quality games at a reasonable price where it's not about taking money out of your pocket. It's about giving you something that you can enjoy. Whether if you like doing multiplayer stuff or if you just like to have the single player games. I know some people like for me exactly, you work all day and then you come home, you're tired, and you play, the only games you have are multiplayer. And now you're playing against this 12-year-old who plays all day every day and is this like supercomputer and just keeps on beating you, and now you're losing in life and work, and now you're losing in the gaming world. And it's just like, "Ugh, I just want to win." So sometimes it's just good to just have those single player games where you could just sit down and enjoy and play whenever you want, and then continue on whenever you need to, and just go at your own pace, which is great. Like I know one time it took me like 3 years to go through the whole game of Zelda Ocarina of Time. But it was great. I enjoyed it. Right? So I just wanna bring back moments like that. So let's go in and start learning how to code. Come and learn with me. If you're a programmer already, then reach out so that we can actually you could actually help me with stuff and teach me how things work. Because, yeah, I'm just kind of pulling hot air and trying to figure out how it works. I'm like, huh, why does it do this? I just put in these numbers and then it does it. I don't know why. But that's okay. So we'll go back to, oops, here we go. Have our project set up. So yesterday we put those crates out. As we put them like here. So we're probably, if I wanted to collide with all of them, if I just press play, we'll probably see that he collides with all of them. Yeah, it looks like it's almost the exact same motion for all of them. That's weird. But yeah, so we will figure out the next thing. High speed chase is what we're looking at. There's an overview video. I don't think we need that. Add a speed variable to your vehicle. We need an easier way to change the vehicle's speed and allow it to be accessed from the inspector. In order to do what we need to do, in order to do what we need is something called a variable. Okay, so yes, we're going to do more code this time. Okay, let's just watch the video and see what this guy does. I wasn't able to actually upgrade the Visual Studio yet, so we still don't have those little nice prompts of what thing to do or different colors. But so far, what I'm noticing is that the colors don't matter for the code. I think the colors is more for the programmer, so it's easier for us to see the difference of what stuff is, and it probably has its own little thing. So we'll have to try to figure out how to do that. Yeah, just so that it'll probably be easier for us to read in the future and that we get to understand. But that is very, very cool. And if you're colorblind, I guess you don't really care. I'm just kidding. My dad's colorblind. I know how it works. And there's different levels. But yeah, you don't necessarily need the colors. It's just to kind of help pick things up. And of course, if you're colorblind, you'll see different shades. So I'll see blue, and you'll see, I guess, like a blue. I'll see purple, and then you see another shade of blue. Okay, let's get to the first video.
Our vehicle now can drive all the way down the road. We have all these obstacles that they can collide with. It has a whole bunch of physics applied to it, but our vehicle still moves a little bit fast, so we want to be able to change it, and we also want to be able to see it. To do that, we're going to use something called a variable. So, in our player controller script, right underneath this first curly brace, underneath player controller, we're going to create a new line by pressing enter. And then on that new line, we're going to create our very first variable. So we're actually going to use this variable to be able to change this number here. So usually in code, it's pretty bad, especially when you have what's called a hard-coded number, because that means that if you ever need to change it, say we reuse speed for some reason ever again, we'd have to keep changing the number 20 versus we could just change the number in our variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the word float. Now, float is a keyword that helps the computer know that we're creating a number with decimals in it. And then we're actually going to say what the name of this variable is. So we can call it speed. And we're going to use the equal sign here. Now, it's very important. The equal sign to your code is very different than an equal sign when you're doing math in the real world. So this actually will assign our speed variable a value. So our speed will be set to whatever number we put next, and it will store that number whenever we need it. So because we are using decimals, we'll type a 5.0, so this is a decimal, and then we add a semicolon at the end, so that way we know we're at the end of this line. We are done with our statement. Now you can see that our IDE is pretty mad at us right now. There's this red underline, and it says that it doesn't understand what this 5.0 means. So actually what we need to do is we need to tell our program that this is a float, and so we add the F at the end. So now, as our computer tries to understand this line of code, now our computer knows that 5.0 is supposed to be a float specifically, so we add that F at the end. So now we have our speed variable. It's always carrying the number 5. If we ever need to, we can change it to be 10 or 20, whatever we want it to be. And so where we have our 20 in our update method, where we're transform.translating our object, we'll take out our 20 and just put speed. So now our code knows that we are multiplying by the value 5, even though we're using the word speed. So that's very helpful. So now, if we test our game, our vehicle should be moving a little slower. Not bad, so it's moving about 5 meters a second, and now it's just pushing those boxes along. Now, we want to actually be able to see this speed variable in Unity. So right now, our speed variable is a variable that belongs to this entire class. It's what we call a member variable. And right now, it can only be seen inside of methods inside of this class, and it can't be used outside of this class. Now, we can actually use the word private to denote the level of access that somebody has with our speed variable. The private keyword is what's called an access modifier. In fact, the public keyword is also an access modifier. So private can only be accessed within this class. In fact, this start and update method are both inherently private, so you don't actually need to type the word private. Versus the word public means that you can access, you can see, you can use this class in other places. So in fact, we want to be able to see and interact with our speed variable. So we will actually make this a public variable. So now that we've used the public keyword to modify its access, we should be able to see it in Unity. Now, a cool thing that happens when we go into Unity, if we click on our vehicle in the hierarchy, in the inspector, underneath the player controller script, you can actually see our speed variable now because it's public. And we can actually change the values however we want just by typing in any number. So I'll set this to 15, and then we'll press play. And you should see the car zip down the road. And a cool thing I can do, if I left click and drag on the speed variable on the word itself, if I drag it to the left, it actually brings it negative. So you can see it racing down the runway. Then if I bring it up, it goes up. And so this is a cool way to see exactly how fast you really want this vehicle to go. And then 5's kind of a good speed. Now let's make it to like 11 or so, 12, cool. Now when we stop playing, oh, our speed variable reset to 15. Well, if you remember, when we enter play mode, if we edit values, it'll reset those values when we exit to the way that it started when we were in our scene. So it actually set it back to 15. So we'll just bring this to like 10 for now, and then we'll save. A fun little tip for when you're programming, something that people commonly say whenever they create their variable, but then also assign it a value at the same time. This is called initializing a variable. And so we initialize the speed variable to be at 5.0 for its speed. So what you're going to do is you're going to create your very first variable so we can store the speed that we want our vehicle to move. Make sure that you use the keyword public so that way we can see this variable outside of this class.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. So because we made it public, it's right here under the player controller that we could actually change the settings for the speed. Now, if I go back in there, if I want to make it private, like you said before, and I save it, I think that's not going to be there anymore. So private. So we'll save it. Yeah, the speed is gone now. Ooh, okay, so that's cool. Let's see. Let me just do this display for you. Oops. Boom. Okay, so as you see, there's no more speed thing right here when we put it to private. But if we put this to public, okay, I get it. So I believe what if you do like a private thing for the float, it will stay within this code, I believe. But if you do it public, then it comes out, and now you can interact it with another way. It says right there speed, and then we had it at 10. We'll leave it at 10 for now because that's what the guy had. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. And so now, why you want it public so that you can see this stuff. If you want to change it to 15, you see it go faster now. Oh wow. Okay. 115. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Okay, now let's go to the next video. Okay, so the float that we had, so now you're just changing speed. So all speed within the script that you use is now going to be at 5.0. Okay, so now, oh, new script for the camera. Okay, high speed chase. Step 2, new script for the camera. This is interesting. Okay, so we got step 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So maybe we'll just go up to 3 today because they only have 6 of them. We'll see how we're doing for time. Okay, step 2. Boom.
We've added a variable to our vehicle. So if you select the vehicle in the inspector, you can see that speed variable under the script. Now when we press play, we can actually click on that speed variable, drag it, and we can control the speed. So we've got some good control, but our camera is still locked in the same place. So we want to make it so we can actually follow the player as they move back and forth. To do that, we'll create a new script. So underneath your assets folder in your project window, if you go down to scripts, right-click on scripts, create a new C# script. We're going to name this script follow player because this will attach to our main camera, and the behavior will be that the camera will follow the player. Make sure you name it correctly with the capital F and the capital P with no spaces. And then we're going to left click on follow player and drag it onto our main camera. Now, if we click on our main camera in our hierarchy, you can see the follow player script has been applied as a component. So now we're going to open our follow player script by double clicking on it. So now our script has opened in our IDE. And what we're going to do is we're going to use public variables, but in a very different way this time. So what we can do is we can actually get a public variable. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a class or a type, in this case, a game object. And so, like I said before, things like our obstacle or our vehicle are game objects in our project. And so actually, we can get references directly to our different game objects like our player. If we check in Unity, you can see now on our follow player script, it's added this line of code. If we select our main camera in the hierarchy, you can see that the follow player script has this player variable, and it's looking for a reference to a game object now. And so in fact, we can actually left click and drag our vehicle from our hierarchy into that box. And now our player variable is tied to our vehicle. This is one way that you can get a reference to an object in the scene for another object to use. In this case, our main camera to use the vehicle. So variables can be used in really powerful ways, not just to store numbers, but to store references to other things that already exist in our game. Now what we're going to do is we can do a really interesting thing where we can actually get the transform. So this gets us the current transform component of the game object that this script is applied to, in this case, our camera. So we get our camera's transform, and we can actually just get its position overall. And so this will give us the X, the Y, and the Z of where our camera currently is. Now, we're going to use that equal sign, that assignment operator. We are going to set our camera's position. Now that we have a reference to our player, we can actually use player. The player also has a transform component. And we can actually get that position from the player's transform component. And then if we semicolon to end our statement here and make sure we save, so now our camera's position will be set to the player's current position. So now, if I press play and you watch in the scene view, watch our camera and our vehicle, our camera should be set to the position of our vehicle. There you go. Kind of works. It's underneath the car, which is close enough to what we want for now, so we can watch it as it drives down the road, runs into the different boxes. Cool little perspective. So what you're going to do is, in Unity, make sure you go to your project window, right-click on scripts. You're going to create a new script, a C# script. You're going to name it follow player, capital F, no space.
Okay, so that's it for that video. Homework is complete. Man, these videos are short. Maybe I'll just do all 6 today. Add an offset to the camera position.
Our camera is now positioned. Unfortunately, it positions underneath the vehicle, which is an interesting perspective, but not exactly what we're looking for. We actually want to create the same effect that we have in our camera here in our preview. So that way we're following behind the player instead of underneath the vehicle. So we'll change that perspective using some of our code. And then what we're going to do is where we're actually setting our camera's position to our player's position, this is actually where we're going to add to our player's position so that we can offset our camera above and behind our player. Fortunately, we already did some of this work before. So luckily, the player vehicle is at 0, 0, 0. And then what we did with our camera is we actually put it at 5 on the Y and -7 on the Z. So it went up and then it went behind our player here. So we can actually use those values to be able to reposition our camera behind the player when the game starts. So using our update method, since we're constantly keeping track of the player's position, we want to add, in this case, we just use a plus sign like you would on a calculator. And then we should add, I believe it was 0 and up 5 meters and then back 7 meters, so -7. So that doesn't seem to work. So let's see. I believe the problem is, so in fact, our player's position is giving us a vector 3. And here, although this would make sense in our heads, this doesn't make sense to our computer at all. Our program is trying to add some statement that doesn't exist, and it's trying to add it into our vector 3. So what we actually need to do is we need to add 2 vector 3s together. So we actually need to create a new vector 3, and we're going to use the keyword new because we're actually creating a new vector 3 instance. We're not creating a vector 3 variable that we're storing or saving. Since this is just temporary, we use new vector 3. And so now this will actually create a new vector 3 just for this line of code. That'll have the values of 0 on the X, 5 in the Y, and -7 on the Z. Last but not least, we're going to add a comment to our code. So we're going to say offset the camera behind the player by adding to the player's position. Now we make sure we save. So now if we test our game, we should see that our camera is just following the vehicle. Awesome. So now we have a much better view of where we're driving and where we're going. So what you're going to do is in your camera's position, where you set it to be.
Okay, that was actually pretty cool. That's very interesting. How I was thinking that, oh, you just have the camera there, you just make it follow the vehicle. But what makes sense in my head, you need to go into full details with the computer, because the computer doesn't have logical thinking. It just does exactly what you tell it to do. Interesting. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen that video where that guy has a son and a daughter, where he asks them to write like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich script, and he's doing it how he thinks, like put the peanut butter put the knife in the peanut butter and then spread it on the the bread, and then he just leaves the knife inside the peanut butter and he's spreading it like this, and there's nothing that getting on there, and so he's trying to. That's how I feel like what probably coding is. That guy's probably a programmer. He probably is, now that I think about it. But yeah, if you guys know that video, if not, then I am sorry for the reference. Yeah, you should go try to find it. I don't even know what the guy's name is. I just saw it like once. Okay, so it's 9:30, half hour. We got three more to go. No, let's call it quits there. We're just learning how to code. Let's sleep on it. We'll do 2 a day. It's going to take us a little bit longer to get this stuff going, but that's okay. We're working. I got a job, so it's not like I need to do this right away. But once I start doing this stuff full time, then yeah, I need to start doing it full time. But we're just learning. We'll sleep on it. Yeah, we'll pick up tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're learning a little bit more about different scripts, how to write, how to flow. Got to think kind of outside the box. That the computer can't just tell stuff what to do based on what we're supposed to do. That's interesting. Yeah, and I was looking at some of the other videos where he's going to show us how to make it so that it's not so specific, that there's other terminology to use. But I'm starting to get this. I'm starting to get this. This is pretty good. I'm excited. I'm at the point where I feel like I can learn code. That's a good point. I feel like it's like a language, and that you could just learn. And I'll get there. I'll get there. We'll get there. We'll work on this together. And yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'll sign off right now. So just remember, this is X1T Gaming. We're going to revolutionize the gaming industry. If you want to see a David and Goliath story happen in real time, like, share, and subscribe. Is it guaranteed to happen? I don't know. Some people say that David was fairly confident in his ability to throw rocks. I'm not confident in my ability to code yet, so I can't really say yes. But yeah, no, we'll get there. It's exciting. It's a journey, and yeah, it'd be a nice journey to go on along with you guys. So I'll see you tomorrow. I don't have work this week. It's winter. To outside work, so it might not be for like the next month. So in the meantime, I'll be doing Twitch every day at 9 a.m. Play some games. So you're more than welcome to join me on Twitch. I'm going to try to do it every day at 9 o'clock p.m. in Pacific Standard Time for live YouTubes, so that you can watch and learn how to code, and this way that the videos are actually there for you to enjoy. Me playing games doesn't need to be video saved. Okay, so until